I always say you don't go on a date with somebody and ask them to marry you.
I knew this was coming. Welcome to CXO Spotlight, powered by Flywheeler. I'm your host, Chirag, and today we are stepping into our B2B growth lab with a marketing strategist who have cracked the code on scaling SaaS and Fintech companies. Our guest is Mindy Anderson, founder and CEO of I Breathe Marketing, who's not only transformed branding for global giants like EY and Citibank, but is now helping the next generation B2B companies achieve 3 to 10 times growth in their pipeline. Welcome, Mindy. How are you today?
Well, thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Let's jump right into it. You've been behind some of the most iconic rebrands in business, but from that time to now, what's fundamentally different about B2B marketing today versus when you did this transformation for Citibank and EY?
So back then, the bigger brands could hide behind the big name, right? They had enough clout in our marketplace to drive pipeline and organically bring in clients. I would say 20 years now that I've been in marketing, I've seen the shift where it has gone further and further into the needs where people want not only personalization, they want that feedback loop. They want to know that the feedback that they have about their wants and their needs is being heard and then actualized through that product and service. Account-based marketing has really come to light in the past few years. And I would say it's only at its infancy stages still. Personalization has a long way to go, but we've started to crack the code. That's what everybody wants, human-centric marketing.
And I read it somewhere when I was doing this research that you achieved some remarkable metrics. I saw 3 to 10 times pipeline growth, and this is my personal favorite word, pipeline growth, across your portfolio companies. As someone who talks to founders every day, what are the specific KPIs you commit as a fractional CMO? And how quickly should founders expect the results from these metrics?
Well, I have had the opportunity to work with enterprises, pre-seed startups, startup A's, startup B's, mid-sized companies, small companies under 100 people, maybe about 80 people or so. So each company has their own operational makeup, if you will, right? So depending on what size are you at, your growth goals, what stage are you at if you're a startup, and what resources do you have? Do you have a MarTech system? Do you have a data system? Do you have any marketing leadership, or do you have a marketing intern? So there's a lot of due diligence when a marketing leader would start working with any company as a fractional CMO to understand what are the internals looking like. And then from a business development standpoint, is there anybody who goes out to fish for the targets that you need to bring in for pipeline? A lot of times marketing is bundled into business development. It's bundled into demand generation. It's bundled into different parts of the funnel. You have awareness. So if you're a no-name company that's not yet established like a Citi or Ernst & Young, then you have to create a lot of awareness before you can get that engagement to go through the funnel. So ultimately, any marketing leader should understand what is the North Star of the CEO. I oftentimes will work with the CEO to say, let's establish the foundation of where we are today and where we see ourselves in the next 3 years. Let's not worry about 10 years or 20 years from now. Let's just focus on near-term strategies and goals, and then let's work backwards in order to ensure that we have the right KPIs and milestones to hit those goals.
Is it fair to say that as a fractional CMO, you work on both the sides, strategic as well as execution? In strategic, it turns out to be the North Star, where we are going. And in execution, it turns out to be the KPIs and benchmark for each stage of the funnel. Would that be the right way to put it?
It can be. Some companies need mentorship for a marketing department. Some people, I've worked with a pre-seed startup where I have been the marketing department along with a virtual assistant who I trained and groomed to get to spit out a whole lot of content and thought leadership and social media strategies, and to ensure those case studies and use cases are alive and well on the website, and using multi-channel marketing, right? So the question is, how established is that company? For companies who are already established and have awareness, how good are you at retaining your clients, right? So then you're at a different stage, right? So then you need to ensure that what is your cross-sell strategy for pipeline generation? So are you showing the value add through your other services or your other products and other bells and whistles that maybe you've added onto your product and services, and maybe your customers are not even aware that you can solve other problems that they have. So I always say, what does your client debrief look like? And people say, what does that mean? And I always say, well, the questions that you go through when you have a check-in with your client, what do those questions even look like? Are they delving into other problems that they may have inside their company that you have not yet touched on because you did not even ask? And if you ask, you will uncover that they have a whole other set of problems that they're still stressed out about. And you have all these products and services sitting on a shelf that are waiting to be utilized. So why not match it to the problem?
I mean, very simple advice, but often forgotten. Super. So, interesting thing. I was scrolling through my LinkedIn and everyone is talking about AI in marketing. But then I find you who have a controversial take on this. You believe that most companies are approaching it completely wrong. Can you elaborate? What's your thought process on that?
There's a lot of parallels, I would say, with the expectation with AI and marketing. Everyone thinks that we're a button, we hit it, and poof, there's your pipeline, there's your sales velocity, and you're done. In actuality, there's a lot of work to be done. So when you work with AI, is how good are your prompts? How good are you training that AI to spit out the value add as you need, like a thought leadership partner? I would look at it more as that you are looking for a higher level of your own thinking or a higher level in your own output and your own business outcomes, right? So they can be a partner with the systems that you choose to work with in AI. They're only as good as the prompts that you're also putting into the AI system. So a lot of people don't know how to use AI prompts still, and it's still a work in progress, very much like if you want to know which are the top 3 channels that your customers use, you need to do multi-channel marketing testing and then learn where are they engaging the most, what time of day are they engaging the most, what subject lines, if you do email, are the best ones for results, or is your ICP, your ideal customer profile, your future buyers coming to your website, or is it just random website visitors? So that tracking is really important. So there's a lot of details that go into all of the marketing channels, right? But what you're after is results. What you're after is performance. What you're after is your targets. So same thing with AI. Is your targeted outcome being spit out from the AI platform that you're looking to use?
Awesome. Okay. Super, super cool. Now, with that thing in mind, that you have to understand your ICP, your ideal customer profile, very deeply at what stage, what channel they are at, and you wrap your message with that. I think that helps also with the demand generation or the pipeline growth aspect of it, because that directly plays into your customer getting interested in you. Walk us through your framework for building a predictable B2B marketing engine, particularly in SaaS and fintech space that you specialize in?
So especially with fintechs, there's a lot of well-known websites, right? And there's an opportunity to create those alliances. There's an opportunity to do what I call alliance marketing or partnership marketing. You could do bylined articles. You could go on the right podcasts where the right eyeballs and the right listeners are listening to that podcast. So it's the same thing if you put your outreach and paid for it to go in. Say you are an up and coming alternative investment company and you want to get known in this world. What are some key placements? Could be Bloomberg, could be Morningstar, it could be Kiplinger's. There's different mutual fund websites. So you want to investigate who is getting the most traffic depending on the budget. This is me speaking from working with startups who may have next to no budget. We're looking to have as much outreach. So if we can get our placement on a newsletter that goes out to 1 million people who are portfolio managers and people who are looking to start their own company, are these the right players that you want to read about your company? If it's a nominal price to go on their newsletter, then that's a really good channel to put in, because you're leveraging their brand to get a no-name brand out there to become, hopefully in the next few years, a household name. And being strategic in that placement is the game changer. So a lot of companies are in a rush to kind of just go out and put out content, and it's a spray approach, and I say, well, if you're going to throw spaghetti at the wall, you are not going to get the results that you're after. But if you're strategic about that placement of where your company is seen by the right players in this space, slowly and steadily, we'll get our name out there where we will start to be like, oh yeah, I know them, versus like, I've never heard of them.
Interesting. I'm going to ask a trick question here, and it's going to challenge you a bit in the sense that think of your pre-stage or early stage companies, right? And they're desperate for that product market fit. Startups, they really have a limited runway and they want to hit that product market fit. They cannot wait for that awareness cycle to kick in. So there's this awareness problem, but then there is this closure problem. Any thoughts on how do you balance these two?
Well, we can do all the marketing. We can have salespeople knocking on doors as much as we want. But if there is not a demand in the market for what you have to sell, you are going to blow through a lot of money and stress out yourself and your team for no reason. And you will close your doors. You have to ensure that market, there's a push-pull in anything, right? That's the market. So the product market fit has to do with the market feedback to what you believe is your target buyers, right? So first you need to have a feedback loop, and you need to really be comfortable with getting good and bad feedback. So the bad feedback is not a bad thing. It means that that's an opportunity for you to get closer to the right product fit. So it can't be somebody who's sensitive about getting feedback that is tough to hear. It has to be somebody who says, tell me the good, bad, and ugly of what you like, what you dislike. And if I miss the mark, tell me why I missed the mark and where I missed the mark. So you have to be, again, it goes back to the question, what questions are you asking your beta testers? Even if you have a beta product to put out or SaaS product, like you still want that feedback. So those type of questions that you ask are very important, and also looking for the patterns in the feedback. Ultimately, you will likely come out with 3 overarching feedback loops where you're hearing, well, this product is almost there, it's maybe 70% there, but here's where we're missing the mark. We need to make the user experience better. Maybe the end user is not clear on what step to take in the app for the next cycle as they fill out maybe an application or go through the next step. And also, is it too long? A lot of times people say, I'm going to create an app, and then say in Fintech, for example, they have to fill out a mortgage application. And that incentive is it'll take you 5 minutes or less, which is what we hear a lot. In actuality, it's taking that end user 10 minutes plus, and then they say, you're out of time. You told me it was 5 minutes. I'm 10 minutes in and I'm still not done. So I'm clicking out. Now you lost your end user.
Yeah. That reminded me an amazing story I think you'll love. I interviewed a fintech founder, a startup founder, and they're funded by YC. And they said that they have built a great interface which can help you file your loan application and stuff like that in 5 minutes or less. That was again the thing, right? I said, so what went wrong? Where are you struggling? And he said something very similar to you, that you have to listen to the bad feedback because it's something he called a pivot signal. It tells you where to pivot your offerings. You have to pivot several times before you hit a product market fit. And he mentioned that here is what happened. When you fill up the loan application, it takes 5 minutes or less, no worries. But the approval part of them coordinating this information with the lender and the actuary to approve the loan was taking 2 days. Even though the users was having a great experience in their app, they still had to wait for 2 days for getting the approval. So it's not 5 minutes or less. So they try to fix that friction point then rather than the whole thing. So you're absolutely right. These pivot signals or the negative feedback are the one that help you understand what is the customer's true pain point in adjusting the product market fit. So super. You're working as a fractional CMO with both strategy and the execution part of it. But as a startup founder, I also feel fractional CMOs help founders in their whole team design part of it, that how the companies can structure their marketing leadership. So based on your experience as a fractional CMO, what's the biggest shift needed in how companies structure their marketing leadership as of today in 2025?
One, they overhire too quickly. So for a lot of startups, I've hired a really small, mighty, lean team, right? Where they are really good at their area of expertise. And I will bring them in for 10 to 20 hours per week. So we have the execution down. And on Fridays, they send me their data of, what's working, what's not working, and where would they plan to optimize next week. So that's my way of working because I'm very much a data insight person. What's not working, throw it away. Just double down on what's working and maybe do subcategories within what's working. Right? So operations is huge, right? Do you have HubSpot? Do you have Instantly? Do you have Smartly? Like, what are you using? What are the platforms? And how good is that person who can take the prospect marketing, who can do the warm up for pipeline, who can do client accounts, which is, account-based marketing. These are different tiers of marketing. So how good are we at segmentation, the personalization, buyer persona? I used to always get into arguments with the leaders at these enterprises where they would say, we are marketing to C-suite. And I was like, we cannot bucket the entire world of C-suite into one box. You have a CFO, you have a CEO, CTO, COO, CMO,
All with different aspirations, right? All with different aspirations, different problems, and different KPIs. So yeah.
And I always say, well, at the end of the day, these C-suite may not have all the answers, but we need to make them look good. So how will we individually make them look good when they have very different roles, responsibilities, and stress factors?
I can relate to that. And having worked in enterprises, I can see where that question will come from because you have those numbers and you have a large target audience where it fits. So let's just do one all approach. Yeah, super. Let's get into our most exciting part of the discussion, which is rapid fire hot takes. You have to be politically incorrect in that and talk straight from the heart right here. So I'll ask you a few questions. One sentence or one word is what you're going for. Most overrated marketing tactic that you see.
Spray and pray.
Super. 2 B2B marketing books that every CEO or founder should read.
I would say the ultimate LinkedIn messaging guide through Daniel Disney. I actually have it right here. Good to Great. I think I was just talking about this book. This is a really good
Wow.
book.
Super. Okay. One marketing best practice that needs to die.
Chasing the shiny ball syndrome.
And biggest waste of marketing budget in 2025.
AI platform.
I knew this was coming. All right. What's the one thing CEOs get wrong about marketing all the time?
They think that as soon as they start to work on their time clock, that the results will become like an overnight success. When, the brand awareness and time to educate your buyers or future buyers takes time. I always say you don't go on a date with somebody and ask them to marry you. So it's the same thing when, especially for business to business, if somebody's spending $500,000 on your product or your service and business to business, they are not going to make an overnight decision. They are going to think long and hard about how that return on investment is worth their company's bread and butter in order to invest into that company. And is it really going to, in the long run, give them the return on investment? Is it going to scale their company, or is it going to make their life 10 times easier that maybe they don't need 10 people in that department? They could reduce it down to one. So what is the output for the spend that they will make? There's decision-making and check marks that have to be made in that nurturing journey. And it needs to be done professionally, and it needs to also align to the heart and the mind and the business outcomes that C-suite individual is after.
Super. Well, thank you, Mindy, for these insights and into transforming B2B marketing for the AI era, also for the SaaS and Fintech leaders. This was really insightful. Thank you for this discussion.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. For our listeners who want to learn more, you can follow Mindy's journey and access the frameworks mentioned today. All links are in the show notes. Stay tuned for more conversations with leaders reshaping technology and business on CX Spotlight, powered by Flywheeler.
To catch more such interesting conversations, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music.